the inbound secret.
My name is Bryce, and I'm your host for The Inbound Secret, where we're talking with top performers and health experts and sales badasses alike about their strategies to optimize their well-being and performance. Once again, this is The Inbound Secret, and let's get rocking and rolling.
This is the inbound. This is the inbound. This is the inbound. The inbound. This is the inbound secret.
Welcome back to another episode of The Inbound Secret. This is your host, Bryce, and I've got a very special guest today who looks like his kid just threw something at him. We've got Chris Baden here on the other line. Chris, give yourself an introduction.
Yeah, hey, how's it going, everybody? I'm very much an entrepreneur. I am very much a father, a recent father of 3 now. So I have 2 boys, 2 and 4, and we just had our first baby girl who's now 2 months old.
Well, congratulations. I know everybody listening is wishing you the same. I've got to ask, what just got thrown at you?
I'm not even sure. It's some type of cardboard-ish token thing. I don't know. It doesn't feel good, but you know, being a parent, I get kicked and punched and way more than I thought I was going to in this gig, but playing. So I guess it's anyway. Yeah, man.
No, makes sense. I have to apologize to you and everybody listening if I sound a little coarse or anybody watching sees me kind of fidget around, put a cough drop or something in. I still have residual bronchitis from COVID-19, so just bear with me. We'll get through it. Overall, I'm still here. Chris, I sounded better on your show than I sound on my show.
Yes, ma'am. Thanks again for coming out.
Absolutely. So I don't know if you've had a chance to listen to my show or not, but The Inbound Secret is about tips, tricks, strategy, where we interview and reveal some of the things that helped you become successful. Some of either the motivators, the mindset, the strategy, the tactics, but some of the things that helped you get from 0 to 100, how you got that shiny little ClickFunnels reward on the wall, how you got your SaaS company rocking and rolling, so that people listening that maybe are in the starting stages, or maybe they've already hit a plateau and they're kind of stuck and they don't know how to get out of that bottleneck, have an outside perspective from somebody in an industry that they're an expert at, and then go from there. Does that make sense to you?
Oh, there you are.
I lost you for a second. Where'd you go?
I'm not sure. Looks like it just cut out.
Interesting. Did you hear everything?
I heard you started to talk about the show.
Okay, perfect. Well, for those of you who had a little mishap here on the audio or the video and audio, I was just running through Chris. That's what this show's about, right? It's about helping people thrive, not just survive, through experience and story. Now, I told you I was going to make you tell this story because I'd love to hear it more in depth than I know the audience would. One of your sons has now started his second business. Is that correct?
This is true.
I would love to hear about that. So I'm gonna get you just talking and let you do your thing, let you tell the whole story top to bottom in as much detail as you want. But it's a super inspiring story, guys. We're not talking about like a 16-year-old kid. We're talking about one of his young children that's just out here hustling, trying to help.
Yeah, well, I think starting with that story will be great because one of your questions is, hey, how do we thrive, not just survive? And you know, what are some of the principles, mindset, framework, skills that have helped me just accomplish what I've accomplished so far in life? It all really ties together. So one day, I'm working and kind of like this day, and you see, I definitely work from home. My son runs in the door. He doesn't always throw stuff at me, fortunately. But this particular day, he's like, Dad, he's so excited. It's like he has this new revelation. And I was like, Emmett, what's going on? And he's like, I want a toy. I was like, oh, okay, well, that's great. He's like, can we get one? I said, absolutely, we can get one. Can we go now, Dad? I said, sure. But if we're going to do that, we need money. And he's like, he kind of looks at me, you know, a little confused. He's like, well, how do I get money? I said, oh, well, you just solve problems for people and then they give you money. He's like, okay, well, how do I solve problems for people? And at that particular moment, I was like, oh, okay, I thought I was going a good direction, but I have no idea. How do I help a 3-year-old? He's 4 now. At the time, this is about a year ago. He was 3, and I was like, how do I help a 3-year-old solve problems for people? So, you know, I was thinking about it throughout the day. Later that day, we needed to run some errands, and we couldn't find our keys for the life of us. And just the random thought went through my head. I was like, man, if we had a massive keychain, then we would not lose our keys. And then it kind of hit me. I was like, hey, Emmett, we could make big keychains for other people so that, excuse me, so they also won't lose their keys. And so he looked at me, he's like, yeah, let's do it. So we had to abandon going on the errand, and we immediately had to start making keychains. And my wife's like, she brings the color to the, you know, to my world and other people's world. She's really creative, and she's got like, you know, feathers and beads and leather making kit stuff. And so we're like, we'll make a big leather keychain. So she helps him cut it out. And he's like putting the ring on, and he's painting. I have pictures of all this stuff, but so he's like painting it, and he makes this big leather keychain. So it was like, great, we got something. We can go, you know, find people now that have this problem. And so I was like, okay, well, I guess this is really happening. We're gonna need a pitch, because I'm not gonna go sell the keychain. He has to go sell the keychain. Mm-hmm. So he needs a pitch. So all right. So we talk back and forth for a while and kind of whittle it down. And we basically get to, hi, my name's Emmett, and I help people not lose their keys. And then he shows them the keychain. That's it.
Short and sweet.
Short and sweet. I think, I mean, there's a lot of different takeaways, and that's not the whole story. But there's like takeaways as we go through the story that really impacted me quite a bit. This one being, man, I really forgot how simple and fun business can be. Mm-hmm. It's just solving a problem for somebody. And it wasn't a perfect keychain. I'm not one of those parents that was like, this is a modern day Picasso. I mean, you know, genuine handcrafted leather. Look at the artistry on this thing, Bryce. No, it looked like a 3-year-old scribbled some paint, you know, on a keychain. But for all of us, you know, it's not about always making a perfect product, but it is about making a product that, or service that does solve the problem. And it did effectively do that.
Well, and I love the fact that you just said that, because I've found myself, and I'm sure you found yourself in this situation before, and many of our listeners, analysis paralysis, right? Like you want to perfect whatever it is that you're building, and especially in software. You've done some big things in software. I'm still fine-tuning some software that I built like 3 years ago that I've been using. Okay, it's not like it doesn't work. It's just not as pretty in places as I'd like it to be, so I keep tweaking it. But every time I do that, it's like a 1 month or a 2 month or a 4 month delay. And I've come to the realization that I just need to get it out there, because it needs to help people, right? Like that's the whole purpose of it existing, was it solved a problem for me, and other people seem to have that same problem, right? But in regards to that, and you know my example, what helps you, or what has helped you, especially with that story? That's a beautiful segue into this. Your son's going to be slinging Lamborghinis when he's like 16, right? What helps you get past that analysis paralysis? What's that motivator? What's that thing that's like, you know what? It doesn't have to be perfect, but it solves the problem. It works. Let's get it out there.
Yeah, I think one simple thought is, it's not your opinion that matters. It's the customers. I mean, if maybe we can relate it to any buying experience that we've all had. Mm-hmm. Have you ever gone somewhere to buy maybe some technology? You want to buy a TV, you want to buy a laptop, you want to buy furniture, just think of maybe the last big purchase you made. You want to buy a car. have you ever had a buying experience where someone's like, okay, well, this setting goes here and this is how, and it's just like, I just need to get a TV and I need to go home because dinner's going to start, in your mind,
Yeah.
you're like just trying to move through the thing, and they're like all in the, that's where we get sometimes as sellers, as business owners, is we just get in our head. And so going through kind of this story and this experience through my then 3-year-old was really refreshing, because it's like, oh wow, business is and should be just this simple. And so there Emmett was with his imperfect product, but completed product. And it wasn't garbage. It still solved the problem. That's key, right? And so now he had his pitch down, and it was time to go door to door. So he got in his wagon. And where do you take your 3-year-old, Bryce? Do you go to neighbors who know you? Do you go to other neighborhoods? In my opinion, I don't want to go to people that we know. Why? Because you don't want to ask them for money? No, they would absolutely support Emmett.
They would 100% buy, yeah.
And that's exactly why we didn't go there. Because that's not real. Like, this isn't like, hey, do you want to support my kid because he has this idea and wants to get a toy? I don't know. That felt like weird and like lame to me. I was like, let's go to cold people that we've never met before. And that don't know us, we don't know them. And for business, that's also what I do. Well, Chris, why do you go to the cold market first? You usually go to, like talk to people and hey, this is a good idea. Go to the cold market. Why? They're the most honest. They have no filters. It hurts a little bit more sometimes. But why is that important? Speed. If you can get past the BS and the filters faster, and you can just get the honest answer. I heard a really, really great story yesterday. I got to meet a guy named Cody, really, really great entrepreneur, and it's built and sold massive companies. He was talking about a friend that he had was basically making like some type of sandal, and he had a patent on it. He was talking to manufacturers, and the crazy part is he was doing it with his son. Okay. And his son was like, he grabbed and looked at it, and within 30 seconds, he evaluating, he would like squish it, and he's like, it's not squishy enough. Can you make it more squishy? Yes. Honestly. And so they would go back and do, but he's like, you have no, and they went back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And he's like, there's so much back and forth. The dad, he's kind of like, I'm sorry, but the guys, the response was this. This was one of the best processes we've been through in a long time. He's like, well, what do you mean? He's like, do you realize when we work with other companies, like adults, they tell us they got to send it to this department, that department. They give us this big analysis and da-da-da. All we need to know is that it's not squishy enough so we can go make it more squishy. I was like, it's, speed, honesty, and speed help, even sometimes if it hurts. So we go to the cold market with Emmett for, again, that's just kind of a principle that has served us well when we're looking to bring a product or service to market. Specifically in the beginning, don't hide, just put yourself out there. And so we do that, and he knocks on the first door, no answer. Knocks on the second door, no answer. Third door, no answer. His shoulders are starting to get a little bit lower now. He's 3. Yeah. Attention span isn't fully there, right? And I was like, you know what? Like, he's like, can we go home? I was like, let's just try one more. Okay. So he gets back in the wagon. He can walk, but I mean, like, he's got his keychain. We're going door to door in his little wagon, and he knocks on the 4th door, and it starts to open. And the person comes out, and Emmett does his pitch, and he nails it. I'm Emmett, and I help people not lose their keys. He's a pretty articulate kid, and he holds the keychain up, and then the guy looks at Emmett, and he looks at the keychain. He looks back at Emmett, and he's like, "I'm Jim, and no thanks." I was like, "You heartless monster!" He just nailed this pitch. And I mean, isn't that the story for us? Do you have any idea? We made this and we've gone here and da-da-da. But nobody cares.
But I think that's the most beautiful glimpse into reality for a business owner, for Emmett to experience the only door open, the 25% of the market that cared, tells you no.
And so but it's true. And that's part of why I don't want to hide things from my kids.
Yeah.
Like the world does a great job, and the world generally, sometimes it's family, sometimes it's neighbors, sometimes it's community or other people that you're too young, or when you're older you can. And I get there's some reality and truth, and there's certain things they're not going to do. At the same time, does it ever go away? You're too young, you're too old, but you can't start over, you can't do this, and it's just like that voice is garbage. It never serves us.
I agree with you, but I've got to interject to that. With the exception of law, like you're too young to drink, you're too young to drive, you're too old to drive, right? With the exception of law, I 100% agree. That voice is bullshit. Just the other day, one of my partners sent me over somebody that's going to be on the show here in a few weeks, who started his business at 13. And now as a 15-year-old, 2 years down the road, he went from wholesaling and retailing Apple products as a licensed reseller, from what I hear on Google, looking this person up. He's got endorsements from some of the biggest tech companies on the planet to be able to resell their technology. He started when he was 13.
Mm-hmm.
Was he too young?
And that's kind of one of the punchlines that I felt, and I was like, I need to remember this, is and sharing it with others that I tell the story and talk with about it, is remember. And of course I'm not things that are harmful, things like you're saying, law driven, it's good not to assume, but I'm saying ill and serve other people into some capacity, there's always this element of self-doubt. Am I good enough? Do I have what it takes? And so you will face that every day. And this day you stop facing that, you're already doing all the things you've already done. You're not growing anymore. And that's a different conversation. It's not necessarily bad. It's just you're going to get a lot different result from that type of thinking, right? So that all said, to your point, it's just challenging that. Can a 3-year-old not have a business? And that was what we were playing with. And so he created this keychain business. And before that rejection hit him, because facing rejection as a to yourself is one thing. Watching your child face that is different.
Yeah.
And before that message hit him, I gasped. I was like, oh, Emmett, did you hear what he said? And he stops looking at Jim, and he looks at, his attention shifts to me. And he says, no, what did he say? I said, he doesn't have a problem losing keys, so we can just go find somebody else that does have that problem. He's like, okay. And he jumps back in the wagon, and then we start to walk away. And so like a couple things there, like one is rejection management. Like rejection doesn't have to be this visceral or like dark, negative thing. It's just understanding, like, I'm on a mission to go serve somebody that has this problem, and it's my goal, it's my job to go find that person. It's okay if I find people that don't have that problem, right? The part that hit me really hard though is as we were walking away, he looked over his left shoulder and he waved and he said, bye, Mr. Jim, have a great day. And he was happy. He was in this great place. And for all of us business owners, there's people that reject us, and they say oftentimes, sometimes really hurtful things, and oftentimes it's really not about us. Most of the time it's about them or their day or their perception of whatever that exchange was, and it's not necessarily even their fault either. How many people have just tried to hammer them or blow up their we're business owners. How many people have blown up your phone and it's the same person selling the same garbage in the same way, and you're like, this is so annoying, you're wasting my time. So it's like we can't get too upset or judgmental when that comes our way. But here's the thing. It's easy to love those that love you. But are you loving those that reject you? Because how you respond to that, speaks to more of like the integrity and the wholeness of how you're approaching your market and who you are as a leader, not just for your team, but also for your customers and prospects. Yeah. And it is harder. And loving those that reject you and loving those that reject your son is a different feel. But what's cool is to kind of towards the end of the story here is we left that house, right?
Mhm.
Oftentimes our breakthrough, you know, the great perfect story, the Hollywood story, right, is after the climax, the biggest part of rejection is you're going to have your biggest breakthrough. Well, that happens to actually be this story as well. And every time we've gone out to prospect, it's always right after the highest point of rejection. I'm not making it up. It's really weird to me because I've done enough life where I know it always doesn't go that way,
Yeah.
right? Real talk. At the same time, the point of perseverance is you just go until it happens, and then it always ends up being that story. And another thing is a lot of times our breakthroughs, yes, they come after the point of great rejection, but they also come where we don't fully expect it. In other words, if you're committed to the goal and the outcome that you're looking to create for yourself and others and your customer, it's also a wise and good idea to let go of where that's going to come from. Meaning everyone you talk to, treat with respect and opportunity. Be honest with what you're looking for. So here's how it happened in this case. We're going door to door. The expectation is we're going to talk to some person, some homeowner that has a problem losing their keys.
Mm-hmm.
But that's not where the deal came from that day. As we left the gym, the rejector, we're leaving the driveway. Across the street, the bug truck pulls up, pest control.
Okay.
And as the person's getting out of the truck, we're exiting the driveway across the street, like we're walking right towards each other, right? I mean, he's getting out of the car. So we kind of look at each other. I'm like, well, I guess we're going to go over there and have a conversation. So we walk up to him. Emmett says, "Hi, I'm Emmett, and I help people not lose their keys." He shows him the keychain. He just got out of his car. He's got keys in his hand. So he looks at the kid, Emmett, and then he looks at his keys, and he says, "How much?" And Emmett says, "There'll be $3, please." And he said, "Why not?" So he pulls $3 out, and he hands $3 to Emmett, and Emmett hands him the keychain. And he said, and he says thanks, and he got a sale. Yeah. And so we repeated this process, and I was like, oh, thank God, like it actually happened. This kid was driving the whole. I'm the entrepreneurial, dad, and I'm the one. Hey, you got to solve problem. I know I'm facilitating and leading a couple things, but I also have other kids. Well, my third is like really, really young, but my other one is driven a little bit different. My oldest Emmett, he is driving this. He's like, yeah, I want to do it. Can we go? I want to get in the wagon. I have another keychain, Dad. Can we, he's asking me to do these things. It's really weird. And anyway, so we don't do it every week. We don't do it every month. We just do it as it comes and goes. I want it to be simple. I want it to be the thing you enjoy.
Is it any time that he wants a new toy?
Not every. I mean, we feed him, we clothe him, we buy him toys.
No, I know that. I know that. I wasn't making that assumption. The reason I ask,
I was just having fun.
I know. The reason I ask though is because if he already made that cognitive connection between I want a new toy, I need money for a new toy, that fast, that's remarkable. Because even as adults, I can't tell you how many times we've been through something and we've systemized something. And then I'm like, so what exactly, other than the money, what's the impact that we built this for? Right. And then I have to reverse engineer the thing to figure out what the original impact point was so that we could focus more on that.
Very true statement.
And I'm a 28-year-old adult. I've figured some life out, clearly not all of it, but some of it. So I love the fact that Emmett's getting out there and he's like, Dad, can we go do this? I've got a new one. Now, I just want to point out to those that were paying attention. Up to the first sale, have you realized that Emmett had a 20% close rate?
Yeah. Yeah. Anyone listening, right? Yeah.
So now that's not the best in the world. It's not the worst, but a 20% close rate for a brand new business is pretty remarkable. Especially when we're constituting that it's cold market. So it's cold traffic that you were converting, not warm. That's a brand new product that's had no publicity. Good job. Good job.
Worked out. So, I appreciate that. So, he that's $3, and the Green Ranger toy that he really wanted was not $3. And so we needed to repeat this process a couple times. And the real part of the story is, man, for a 3-year-old to wait, like, and here's the thing, like, he eventually, he got up to $13 and I was like $8 or something. And so, and there's a reason we got to 13, because it's not just making the money. It's also, cost of making it. So cost of goods that were covered. And then when you get the money, what do you do? And most people don't talk about this or think about this part, but as entrepreneurs, let's be real, who cares how much money you make? Like in the business, what's your net profit?
Yeah.
And so I sold this, I sold that, but you're broke. You just created a job that you worked really hard in, and you're not making, so that all matters. So it's like, why don't we start that thinking early as well too? So we did cost of goods, but we have 3 jars, Bryce. We have 3 jars. So once the money comes in, it's not our money. It's ours to temporarily manage.
Yeah.
And be a good steward of. And so that's in our household, that's kind of how we focus and talk. And so we have the checking jar, we have the save jar, and we have the give jar. And we go through these jars, and we, to give, this money is meant for other people, to serve other people. To save is for emergencies, or investing. We're just staying with emergencies right now. And then the checking jar is for us. For right now, I'm just saying, for us. So they have like, a punchline for each of them. Yeah. And so to your point, hey, when he wanted the next toy, the next thing, I was like, oh, well, let's go to our jars. Oh, shoot. The checking jar is empty. We got to go fill it up again. Oh, okay. And so over the course of a year, and me, frankly, I'm like, okay, we've gone door to door. It's got that feel. It never feels good. Does anyone ever? Maybe some people like it. The people that like it probably shouldn't like it so much.
No, but right? I do have to say this. The people that like it, the people that do it for a profession, and some of the people listening to this do that, are fucking rock stars.
Oh, 100.
Burton Hughes, a friend of mine down in Texas who does New View Roofing, right? All he does is sell door to door for like 2 hours a day. Yeah. For like 2 hours a day, and just crushes it.
Yeah,
but he's in a market and an industry that work in that industry. Yeah,
and I still have plenty of friends. Like we're all going door to door to some level. As business owners.
It's just what type of door are you going to?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I still, like, I've done cold calling. I'm still. Reaching out to market, like, anyway. So yeah, not to put any negative light on that. It can be done really poorly, and there's some people that do it awful, and they should reconsider for everyone. Just like in my industry,
there you can advertise online bad. It's a thing. You can do that.
Same. Yep. Totally agree. And so, so we have created a different business now, and this one he's making, and my other son is excited about this one too. So they make about $30 a month, and I don't know, we might, depending on delivery, the demand's growing, which is great. But it's called Feel Good Pizza, and if someone wants to do this with their kids, they totally can. Feel Good Pizza. Why? Because you can eat as much of it as you want, and you're still going to feel good, because it's just simple, like, whole ingredients. We make the dough fresh, and it's given that day. And we just started eating it in our home. Again, notice both businesses are created out of our own problem or experience first, and then we're sharing that with others, which is the why of what you were talking about earlier. Other than money, why are we doing this? And so it's just scaling that genuine great experience that you're having. So, I was hungry, and I was like, I wanted to eat more vegetables in my life. And it's like, well, how do I sell myself on eating more vegetables?
Make it look like pizza.
I was just like, you know what? If there's like a thin layer of like really just quality ingredient, like, dough and sauce, you know what? Freaking dump vegetables on it. I could probably throw that back. So that's what we did. And you can do whatever ingredient you want on the pizza, but that's why I call it Feel Good Pizza, is because I was like, dude, I smashed like a whole pan one night because I was so hungry, and I was like, I felt okay. Like it sat my body okay. I didn't feel
Yeah.
tired or grogged out. Felt okay the next day. I didn't feel like bloated or over. Anyway, crazy what good food does, right? So it was Feel Good Pizza. We were doing that for a while, and then eventually I was like, you know what'd be better is if people wanted this compared to, we could just we could do like, give them a pizza a month or something. That's all we do. So it's like we make pizzas once a month for a couple hours, and then they go deliver it, and it's Feel Good Pizza. And so they do the ingredients, like pour it in, and we have a spreadsheet with all the food costs, because you got to you're not going to use all the ingredient, right, for just 3 or 6 pizzas. It's going to be fractions. So it's like we did the math, and I talked through that with them. And so it's functional. It's about a 55% margin. And then, some goes in the save jar and the give jar and the checking jar. And then they get to do and so that one runs a little bit more frequently. So man, it's just what I want them to feel and understand is, in this world, I have desire or need. Well, we need to contribute, is my opinion, right? Contribute to society. And it's a cyclical thing. It's not, I do all this thing and I'm hoarding. It's like, well, no, like we're doing this work to serve others so that we have enough for ourselves, and then we apportion to give back to other people. And it's like this really, it's a river. It's not, this stagnant pond. So yeah, man, that's a little bit just about the business.
I agree with that. And thank you for telling us those stories. It's there's 2 quotes that I want your opinion on. And they actually play into this cyclical river concept that you've brought up. And the first one is you're paid directly in proportion to the amount and size of problems that you solve for others. I'm pretty sure I know your response to that. Yes, right? It makes sense. And it's a true statement. Now, the other one's more universal, more spiritual. And it's actually, I forget who does the song, but it's the intro to a song that I've listened to on Spotify a few times. And it says that, what is it? It says that you are no less the universe as a wave is any less the ocean. You are the universe experiencing in its own fashion, to its own perspective, the same way that a wave is something that the entire ocean is doing. It's not just part of the ocean, it's the entirety of it. And the reason I want to bring this philosophical topic up is specifically because you and me align very closely on one thing: impact in a holistic goal. Contribution is what allows us to solve problems for other people. It's what allows us to be able to build businesses, have freedom, help others do the same. And it's what allows, really, in my opinion, society to function. Because if everybody was Scrooge McDuck, like we've seen the Christmas Story, we know how that goes, right? It's one of those things that I think is both a beautiful thing that I've seen change year over year over year. Because if you look at business 50 years ago, right, there wasn't a ton of impact-based corporations. There was profit-centric, basically ATMs, and then charities. That was basically it. And now in today's world, people like you, our companies, our other guests on the show, hundreds of companies, institutions, businesses, and entrepreneurs have come out here and like, no, those don't have to be different. We're a for-purpose company. We have a holistic reason for doing this. So with you've done SAAS, you've done coaching, you hop on and you do a ton of content. Tell me, and more importantly, tell the listeners that are having a hard time narrowing down their why. What helped you find yours?
What's coming to mind immediately, without thinking too hard on the why, is what helps keep a lot of because it's really valuable, but I feel like when we search the answer of what it is, we put a lot of pressure on it, and then it becomes kind of forced and manufactured, and it doesn't feel like this free flowing thing, which it in my opinion it really should be. It should be a natural outpouring of an experience that you had that you're sharing with somebody. It's really just that simple, and it's respecting that it's that simple. My point is what is it now? You know, it doesn't, it's not like this big, deep thing, an answer that you're going to find. It's like, well, what is it today? And just trust that and follow that. And so for example, like with Feel Good Pizza, it's like, man, you know what? Man, we do Feel Good Fridays, Feel Good Pizza every Friday, and we're gonna have some friends over tonight, and we'll have some more Feel Good Pizza. And so it's like, it's a good experience that we enjoyed, and it's just as simple as sharing that with more people. So
Yeah.
I would say just reset. When no one's looking, and when there's not much pressure, there's not much thought, it's not really a deep thing. It's just a really simple, usually experience-based thing. And what's great is business is just the systematic way of delivering a product or service to somebody else. It's the science, right? But what's created from the heart is felt by the heart. And the art part of business is just that. It's just the genuine experiences. For example, there's a really great story with this lady, I forget her name, but basically her business was snow cones. They're like frozen treats. And she had a really, really hard upbringing. She actually lost some of her family members because they couldn't afford heat. And they were, I believe in somewhere in the tundra, like in Canada or like Northeast or something. And the family would all huddle together, but you know, they would, plenty of health challenges, like just in their limbs and everything, because they were so cold. I mean, it was like 0 or, you know, below 30s inside. It was a really hard time. Once in a while, they were able to go get some like desserts together, and for them, what's important is the experience, the meaning, and the emotion, the art and the heart for them that they got to experience. And so what she did was create a business that it's that emotion. She's delivering that emotion and experience through her snow cone business. And part of the funds and her mission of doing that is to support family with clothing and warmth, or to cover, you know, a heating bill, electric bill, right? And so you're asking, well, how do you find your why? You can maybe you just reset to those experiences, and give yourself time. Like write down some ideas and then walk away from it for a couple of days or a week, and then come back to it. Let it kind of marinate in it for a second, and it'll become clear. And then it's just trusting and being creative of like, well, what are some different ways that I can deliver that experience? And your business becomes the vehicle of how you share that.
Yeah. I mean, that's artfully said, but I love the fact that you said give yourself some time, right? Reset to the emotion and the experience. Me and a partner were just talking last night about doing I'm excited about it, but it's really kind of hard to explain. So it's a coaching program, right? But it's free for youth, has a scholarship program for anybody that wants to sponsor somebody, and it has a holistic charity that goes to youth centers that help them get clothing, school supplies, education, and really cultivate and create a lifestyle and a life that they're looking for. And we're going to make nothing on it. It's not about profit to us. But that why, wanting to be part of something that is completely holistically driven to change the lives of America and the world's youth, to help them set up for success, to help them create businesses before they're 18, to make profitable changes, to help them be the first millionaires in their life. That wasn't a why that I had 3 years ago. It's a why I have now, but it wasn't one that I had previously. But there's an emotion and an experience tied to that. I basically abused my education system. I didn't take advantage of it at all throughout my life. Didn't know what I wanted to do or how I wanted to go. And I put myself into a situation where I grew up very hard, for the lack of a better word, because of the experiences I chose to live. And because of those experiences, and it's not something I'd recommend that the youth do, it was not the best way for me to grow up. I don't care how rebellious you want to be. It's more than likely a bad decision. I've lived through it. I want to make sure that the youth, especially youth that don't come from affluency, have the same resources and capability that anybody else can, right? I want it to be a universal truth that if you have the desire to do something, regardless of what that something is, you have resources for it. And that's why we're creating this. But it's not something that I have ever thought about. So the fact that you mentioned give it time, I think is an important measure here, because it shouldn't be forced. It shouldn't be like you're cramming for a fourth quarter exam in high school, right? It should be a natural evolution. So we've got to wrap up here. It's been a pleasure having you on today, but I want to ask two favors of you. Favor number one, what's some gold nuggets, some pixie dust that you can sprinkle on the end of the show that you think is going to make the biggest impact for the listeners? And then favor two, if anybody wants to get a hold of you, learn more about your software as a service, learn more about you, your experiences, follow and subscribe to your channels and your show, and maybe even join your group, where can they get a hold of you?
Yeah, I'll start with that one first. So Sales Ascenders Inner Circles are free Facebook group. And that's for just other like-minded business owners. If you're looking to network, and I mean, that's how Bryce and I met. Just connect in a real way, network. We only solve one problem. Most business owners, the quality business owners, are solving ultimately one problem, and they're happy they know how much work it takes to serve one problem at a high level. It's way too painful and exhausting to be all over the place.
Yep.
So we have those business owners in our group, and so it's very easy to refer and network. That's a great place. I'd say just message me on Facebook. It's Chris Baden. Just mention that you came from Bryce from listening to this. And yeah, if there's any like tools, resources that help with prospecting, that help with sales, or just let me know whatever else your need is, because we're always listening and asking on behalf of our whole community as well. So I'm happy to I make connections every single day. So it's like breathing. So yeah, we have not because we ask not. So just show up and ask. That said, kind of ending with the pixie dust. Again, in light of everything we've said, I think I need to share the things that have already served me well and continue to serve me well. And to sum it up in one word, if there's one skill that's helped me, excel really kind of in life, but we're talking in the context of business, it's prospecting. It's prospecting. I like to call it purpose-driven prospecting. I kind of have my own frameworks around purpose-driven prospecting. But the reason I say that is I define prospecting as it's the skill, because it is a skill that can be learned by anybody. It's a skill, language, and activity of creating new connection. The skill, language, and activity of creating new connection. And no matter business or not business, everyone in any walk of life absolutely needs this. Here's why. To accomplish something greater than yourself, it does take more than yourself. There's no way I'd have been able to accomplish even a fraction of what I have if I was doing everything. I've been blessed to have great people, great partners, great team, great customers around me. And the journey of creating that is prospecting. It's the skill, language, and activity of making new connection. If you need to reach out to new prospect for new partners, you got to assemble the A team, right? If you need to reach out for new customers because the business needs sales, if you need to reach out to service providers that are experts in operations or other ancillary functions of a business that you need. If you're on the prowl and you're looking for a spouse, it's prospecting. It's the skill, language, and activity of creating new connection, and that never stops. And sometimes it's also this. Sometimes it's with people you still can create new connection and deeper connection with the people you know. New connection doesn't always mean new people. Yeah. And so there's this concept of prospecting that goes wide and it also goes deep. And that's helped me, build companies that do at least $1 million or more a year in insurance, in e-com, in software, and all those three particular industries were all built within the last 5 years. So it's been really exhausting while building a family. But I would say to accomplish something greater than yourself, it takes more than yourself, and creating new connection through the activity of prospecting is the way to go.
I love it. I love it. So everybody listening, go join the Sales Ascender community on Facebook. Find Chris Baden on Facebook as well. You'll see his beautiful face if you're watching. If you're just listening, bearded white man with headphones, and you'll be able to find him there. Now, for anybody who wants to follow a little more closely, if you have questions, you want to contact Chris on a more in-depth level, have questions, or just can't find his profile, hit me up here either in the comments or on the Inbound Secrets page. I will happily connect you guys. And once again, thank you for being part of the Inbound Secret, and we will see you next time.
This is the Inbound Secret.
My name is Bryce, and I'm your host for the Inbound Secret, where we're talking with top performers and health experts and sales badasses alike about their strategies to optimize their well-being and performance. Once again, this is the Inbound Secret, and let's get rocking and rolling.
This is the Inbound. This is the Inbound.